Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at. Welcome to Kemetic Ascension, brought to you by the Shrine of Ma'at. We are so pleased that you've chosen to spend part of your Sunday with us. Today is February 26, 2023. That's the secular date. We want to just say that we're so pleased that you are here, so pleased that you are with us. Please let us know where you are in the world. Let us know exactly how far our message, how far we are reaching. We really do want to know that you're here. We want to know that you are with us for this important discussion. We're really hoping that you are prepared to speak to us. Today, we'll do something a little bit different. We're not going to do our regular word from the Sevaid. We decided that today we would try to simply talk to you, that we would try to speak to you about some of the things that you've been working on. And so in a few moments, we're going to put our the link to the StreamYard connection into our stream, and you'll be able to join us. Now, of course, we're only asking those people, we're only going to allow those people that we know that have been parts of Kemetic Ascension regularly to join us. And so we're hoping that some of you would like to talk to us live as well. Anken Ma'at to you, Anken Ma'at to you, Anken Ma'at. You know that we always ask where in the world you are and how long you have been part of Kemetic Ascension. So please go ahead and speak to us. Let us know where you are in the world so that we are able to communicate fully with you. I think we have a few folks who have answered already, correct?
We have Shenka.
Anken Ma'at, a full active member of the Shrine of Ma'at. Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at.
Tawana Aikens out in Long Island.
Anken Ma'at, Long Island, not that far from us. Or right in right off of New York City. Anken Ma'at to you.
I was just there. Chelsea in Georgia.
Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at.
Sinette Cortia out in Atlanta.
Sinette Cortia, one of our full members out in the ATL. Anken Ma'at to you.
Christian Ellis out in the Bronx.
Anken Ma'at, Christian Ellis.
DC Sanisi Naka out in Las Vegas.
Wow, that's a new name. DC Sanisi Neka, Anken Ma'at. I wonder if we've met. Have we met when I was in Vegas? We go to Vegas regularly with a wonderful organization, and we're wondering if I've met you when I went to Vegas.
Shane the Watcher, 616 out in Sacramento, California.
Anken Ma'at
watching
to you.
Since KLT.
A long time, right? And I'm assuming that you saw Ant-Man, you have some views on it. So did I. I saw it the first weekend, and I thought it was very interesting, and seems like it's going to bode a lot for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. And we're not going to go into extensive conversation here. Obviously, this is not the place for it. But did you notice that they're going to introduce the Kemetic version of the villain? Did you notice that? Fascinating. Is it not fascinating? And obviously, the villain is played by a person of African descent, Jonathan Majors. So this is going to be very interesting. At the same time that we are reeling with what happened to perhaps the most popular comedian in the world, Kevin Hart. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. Anken Ma'at to you. So while Kevin Hart is not able to say that Black folks created ancient Kemet, Marvel has just introduced a villain who is clearly dressed in Kemetic clothing, who is a person of African descent. Isn't the world weird? Isn't this strange? Anyway, interesting part of this discussion.
Send Jason Holmes out in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Anken Ma'at to send Jason. History lover like myself, one of our full members, Anken Ma'at.
And Trey Shell Collins out in Houston.
Anken Ma'at to Houston. Anken Ma'at.
Alan Mayu, one of our members.
One of our full members, Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have Shaheem Ray, tell us where you're from.
Ankin Ma'at.
Yes, this is Tony Sekem Ra Kepri out in DMV.
Ankin Ma'at. I don't know if I've heard that name before. Have you?
I've
Ankin
seen the
Ma'at
name,
to you and welcome.
Tony Chiba, how are you? Says
Ankin Ma'at. I've
congratulations.
heard that one before. Ankin Ma'at to you.
I'm sorry, Sen Gavin out in DMV.
No, Gavin's not in DMV. Oh, send Gavin, not Gavin.
Gavin.
Gavin, yes. Ankin Ma'at to you, send Gavin. Yes. See, I see how messed up things are today. And not messed up because of any technological issue, but simply because Jabari is doing something different. I have my tablet up here, so I'm glancing down and messing stuff up as Anika gives it to me the right way. Ankin Ma'at to you, send Gavin. It's good to hear that you out there doing what you do.
And Sen Cleo out in Queens.
Ankin Ma'at, another one of our full members, just like Sen Gavin. Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have a new name I've never recognized, Asar Asmodeus Farrell out in Georgia.
Sounds familiar, though. I'm not sure why. Ankin Ma'at to you. Perhaps he's a Sonnet or TV viewer. Maybe that's how I know the name. Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have Essence Divine from Waterbury, Connecticut.
Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at.
And Sanala's out in Seattle, Washington.
Yes. Ankin Ma'at.
We have Sen Ronald Green out in Alton, Illinois.
Ankin Ma'at to you.
Jeremy Browder out in Alabama.
Ankin Ma'at.
We have Hiru Asar Ankh Amunra out in Dallas, Texas.
Yes, out in Texas. I know you love that name. We have folks from all over. We're hearing a lot of folks from the South today. Ankin Ma'at to you.
Sen Tahuti Forever, the Jati.
Yes, of Phoenix. Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at.
Up in Rakasa Shen.
Yes, Rakasa Shen in the house.
I've been watching since 2017.
Ankin Ma'at.
Jaheim Ray says that he's in Woodbridge, Virginia, and started watching last year.
Wonderful. Welcome. Woodbridge, Virginia. I'm not sure if I know Woodbridge. Ankin Ma'at to you, though.
With Hiru Jehuti Pata Umika Temra.
Yes.
Out in Oakland, California.
Ankin Ma'at to you. A regular member of Kemetic Ascension.
And we have Sen Garrick.
Ankin Ma'at. I glanced down and saw Sen Garrick's name. Ankin Ma'at to you. Wonderful that you're out there on the West Coast. How is your queen? Please give her our love.
We have Sinet Sakina Ra out in North Dakota.
Ankin Ma'at. Sakina Ra, one of our full members out in North Dakota. I never remember where she is because I've never been to North Dakota. You know that? So it doesn't click in my head where she is. Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have Brother Lino, who's asking, how often are you in Vegas and what do you do out there?
Often when I'm in Vegas, I'm lecturing or leading tours. We go out there with an organization, Mastering Mindsets Las Vegas. It's a wonderful youth organization. And we have created, with our dear brother, LJ Edmondson, a show called the Africana History Challenge. So I'm the game show host for that show. I think we'll probably be talking about heading out there again, perhaps next month or the month, March or April. So definitely will be, you'll hear a lot about that as well. Hopefully we'll see you when we come out.
Okay. We have MF Dredson. Tell us where you're from.
Ankin Ma'at. And I just glanced and saw they're talking about Brother Browder's tour, Egypt on the Potomac, which we've done many times. Many times. Ankin Ma'at to you.
Let's see. Atona Amun-Ra from Shamsu Heru from Chicago.
Ankin Ma'at out in the Windy City, one of our active members as well. Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have Tahuti Ma'at Ra Sirius out in Wichita, Kansas.
Ankin Ma'at to you with an incredible name, Ankin Ma'at.
Brandon Moore out in Indiana.
Ankin Ma'at, one of our full members, Ankin Ma'at to you.
MF Dredson is representing Kentucky, the wild Appalachian Middle East of North America.
That is hilarious. I love it. Al-Kiba'at. For those of us who live on the East Coast, I think that many of us didn't realize how many Black folks are in Kentucky, right? I think Anika went to Kentucky. I've never been to Kentucky, but Anika went to Kentucky. One of her professional organizations. I'm not sure she was in charge of the organization at the time.
No, I went to do consulting for Berea College.
But before that, didn't NAMI have a conference in Kentucky?
I don't think so.
Maybe I'm just mistaken.
Indiana and Indianapolis.
Okay, okay. So she did go there though to do consulting there. So she's been to Kentucky and saw what it looks like. And so, there's so many portions of this country that some of us don't get to simply because we live in another portion of the country. It would be wonderful to meet the folks out there and see what they're doing. I'd find it fascinating. Anika has already experienced it. So, Ma'at to you.
Shankar says that Tony Chiba is a mod from Sonetta.
Yes. I thought I knew that name. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at.
Tony says, you have a lot of DMV supporters. I like that. I'm also from DMV, born in Washington, D.C.
There are a lot of folks from DMV, right? We need to definitely talk about how we can do more there. Ankin Ma'at.
And multitasking. So we have Chris Big B from Georgia.
Ankin Ma'at.
We have Boss Trucker, who's a beginner looking for direction.
Ankin Ma'at. Today, what we'll do is we'll actually welcome folks in. So perhaps you'll come in and ask questions, more specific questions today. Is this Harold Jehuti Patah?
Okay. I might not be there yet.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going in order.
Sorry. No, you've already mentioned him, but I think he was saying that his name's Harold Jehuti, members of the Shrine, not just Kemetic Ascension. I literally typed member. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry, I'm messing things up.
You said he was a member of Kemetic Ascension, not a member of the Shrine.
Oh, did
He's a Shrine member.
I said that. Okay. He is a Shrine member,
yes.
Correct? I always forget the name that he came in under. What was the name that you joined? Because you didn't come in as Harold Jehuti Patah Umika Temra. And I never remember your new name. That's what the challenge is. What was the name that you came in with us under? I think it's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back to me. Ankin Ma'at.
We have Kent Keys from upstate New York.
Ankin Ma'at to you. Where are you, Kent Keys? We're in upstate New York. Anika and I actually obviously met in upstate New York. And so we have spent a considerable time up there. Where are you from in upstate New York?
We have Leon Mead Brampton out in Ontario, Canada.
Ontario. We used to go to Ontario regularly when the African Genesis used to go for trips in Ontario. How is it? How's it going up there? There are Black folk who escaped enslavement who still are in that part of the country that we used to have interaction with. So I hope all is well with you up there.
And Boss Trucker says that they're from Atlanta.
Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to you.
Ma'ati Aset out in LA and Atlanta.
Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at.
Let's see. Dave Watson. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. In North Carolina.
Ankin Ma'at to you.
Pharaoh Alexander. Where are you from? Let us know.
Ankin Ma'at. I'm scrolling up to where she is. Ankin Ma'at.
Queen Seba Ka out in the DMV.
Ankin Ma'at. Is that's Seba Ka, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes,
wonderful. Ankin Ma'at to you, one of our full members.
Mm-hmm. We have Maka Kwayedza. I hope I said that correctly. Out in Brooklyn.
Oh, in the BK. In the BK. Anika has lived in Harlem for over 20 years, but she still reps the BK. She reps the BK hard. When we're anywhere and they say we're Brooklyn at, there she is. Ah! When they say Harlem, she's like, mm-hmm. So she still reps. If you can only see her expression right now, she still reps Brooklyn hard, boy. I'm telling you. Am I right? Am I exaggerating? No. I'll come out to you.
Let's see. Let's see. We have Brittany Hunter out in North Carolina.
Ankin Ma'at. I'm messing stuff up here.
Let's see. So Haru Jehuti puts out Mika Tamra says he typed Jehuti. I emailed needing a new name too. Much more.
Oh, you'd like a new name?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, those new name processes are not easy. We have a backlog of folks. You emailed us about a new name, we'll certainly get to you. Definitely we will. It may take a little while because we take granting new names very seriously, right? We don't just say, hey, this is cool, here, take this name. It's an in-depth process, but we definitely will work with you on it, especially as a full member of the Shrine. Those are the folks that we usually assist in receiving new names.
Let's see, we have Joanne Jahid Adisa out in Columbus, Georgia.
Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at.
Lady Het Davis out in Colorado.
One of our full members, Ankin Ma'at, Lady Het Davis. Sinette Lady Het Davis.
Pharaoh Alexander's out in Austin, Texas.
We have quite a few people that come from Texas, but you know, the reality is Texas is so big that they may be very far apart from each other as well. Texas is a big state, boy, I'm telling you. Ankin Ma'at to you.
Brock Tate out in North Carolina, transplanted from Harlem.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Siba Ka is from, it's Siba Ka, right? How does she, I know that we called her Sinette B, but she also has another name as well. Sinette B is from Harlem and in North Carolina. I wonder if you're near each other at all, or if you know each other. Ankin Ma'at to you.
Juice the Orange from Congo.
Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at. Now you say you're from the Congo. Where are you now? Because it seems like we have a lot of folks in here, but not necessarily as many from very far away, right? Mm-hmm. Where are you now? Mm-hmm. Currently, it looks like Ontario is the furthest part.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing well, Joanne. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Let's see.
Check and see how you're doing because of her cold.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Mm-hmm.
She's just working hard is what she's been doing. So
yeah. So Shane Watcher 16 wants to know what non-initiates can request a new name.
Really, the assistance we provide with new names have been mostly for initiates. You can make a request. But you would be sort of kind of folks who are full members would be elevated in front of you. So it's not that we would not help you. It just means we would take a lot longer to get to you. So, yep. It takes a while for members to get for us to get to the. It's an involved process. It really is. Anika has been doing most of the names, and it takes a while. It takes weeks per person. It doesn't. We'll talk to you about what journey you're on, about what speaks to you, what divine force may speak to you, and it takes quite some time, right? Mm-hmm. Who's the last person you gave a name?
I'm not going to list.
No, brother out in Philly, right?
I just did one recently, but I don't even know if they want their business out in the street. So
I didn't see you have to say.
You just said who?
Why would they not want their business out in the street? Your Kemetic name is not a secret. Anyway, yes. Should we have assisted many people in getting new names?
We have Broken Pansy, Obabini, Kanefer, Webinra out in North Philly.
She loves saying that name. Out in Philly. Honking my aunt to you. We haven't been in Philly in a while. We really do need to get back to Philly.
Let's see. We have Walker, Dekle, Saudonia. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but tell us where you're from.
Please do.
Okay, Tony Shiba asked, does the African American Museum allow anyone to do field trips? I would definitely support y'all if that was so.
We actually have attempted to do field trips there, and yes, they do. It is a little challenging because, as you can imagine, and this is a wonderful problem to have, Black folk go to the African American Museum from all over the country, all over the world. It is very well attended. It's got to be one of the best attended Smithsonian-related museums in the country. And so we said that we would do one, and we should still consider doing it as well. So hopefully your comment will add it to the list. I'm about to once again describe some of the other tours that I'm going to be doing soon. So we could obviously put that one on. We would love to get back to the African American Museum. We've been there a few times, and it's an amazing space. Not without critique, but no museum. We could critique any museum that we go to. We have critiqued museums, but it's definitely a place that you should absolutely get to. So we will discuss doing something as a group as well.
Okay. We have D. Fulton out in Knightdale, North Carolina.
Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at.
We have Hemet and Tara. Oh, no, Dior Nelson. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's the priestess.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I could swear when I'm coming down here, I saw that you text me. I didn't get to read it yet. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to you. That's the priestess that comes from the same lineage that we do. She was granted her priestship, her priesthood by Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Seyfatah, and she's doing important work on the West Coast. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at.
Yeah, she's out in Sun City, Arizona.
Yeah, out in Arizona, not far from Phoenix.
Adrian Logan out in Chicago.
Ankin Ma'at to all of you in the Windy City, out there where Senatan is at. Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have Abu Jamar out there representing Shrine.
Ankin Ma'at of Abu Jamar is here. He's out where?
No, just
all over the place.
Yeah.
He's all over the place. He's here today?
He's online.
Oh, wonderful. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at. Ever since we concluded priesthood training, by the way, we have to talk to the entire community about their ceremony when we finish discussing it with them. But ever since we finished our official training, it has been, I haven't spoken to the priest. It feels awkward that we haven't spoken as much. I hope you're doing well. I know that Abu Jamar is doing some amazing things. Really bringing conscious hip hop back to the fore really is the best way to describe it. It really is the best way to describe it because there's so many hip hop artists and very few of them could even pretend to be in that that area. And Abu Jamar is really becoming one of the best well-known artists in that particular area of hip hop as well. So. Wonderful.
And he wants a Kemetic name as well.
Does he? I didn't know that. Look at Amika's face. Sometimes I really wish you could see Amika's face. Abu Jamar is a priest, though. We would have to work with him quickly.
We have Broke Never in Toronto.
Broke Never. Man, I know how many of us would like to have that name. Broke Never. Ankin Ma'at to you, Broke Never.
Oh, wow.
You know, I never noticed that even when I'm doing my bit of pacing up here, the camera is really following extensively. It always does that? Wow. Okay. Did not realize that.
Walker's from New Jersey. Let's see. We have Interu Resh. Where are you from? Tell us where you're from. Good to see you.
Ankin Ma'at to you.
Kemet King Joe out in Tampa, Florida.
I like that name. Ankh and Ma'at to you.
And I think that's everyone.
Ankh and Ma'at, Ankh and you got Walker, Deckel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know even how to say that last part of the name.
I mentioned him earlier, and then I asked him where he was from. That's why the second message.
Ankh and Ma'at, Ankh and Ma'at.
That was Saul Donia. That's what I'm thinking.
You're better at that than I was. Ankh and Ma'at, Ankh and Ma'at. Let me say greetings and blessings to all of you. I'm so glad that you're here with us. I'm so glad that we get to have these discussions with you. And keep in mind, in a few moments, we're going to open things up a little bit. We never do this. We decided we would do something a little different for us. So maybe what we should do, we'll let you know that we're going to put the link to the StreamYard that we're using into the chat. And for those of you who would like to have discussions, you can come on in. We're going to do that briefly. And we're looking forward to having a dialogue with you. Definitely recognize that in order to be part of the dialogue, you must have your camera on so we can see who you are. And we're going to allow people who we know, people who are full members of the shrine, people who regularly attend Kemetic Ascension, who we've been talking to for weeks upon weeks. We know who you are. So those are the folks that we would let in first. But definitely, we figured that it was about time that we have just a general open conversation with the Shrine of Ma'at family, with the Kemetic Ascension family. So you'll see the link in a moment. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, that Nturu Resh is actually Kepresh from Temple of Anu.
Oh, I don't know that name. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at. We've heard Nturu Resh before. He's been on regularly. Ankh and Ma'at to you. This blasted pandemic has meant that there's some people that we don't see as much. I used to see him in person a little bit. Now there's folks we haven't seen in person in like 2-3 years. Ankh and Ma'at to you. I hope that's a good, solid brother who is a strong part of the Kemetic community. And we just have to say Ankh and Ma'at to you and blessings, holding it down on the other side of the river. He comes back and forth, so he's holding down on this side and that side. Ankh and Ma'at to you. It's good to know that you're out there.
And Tony Jiva mentioned that his wife did her ancestry and came back 27% Nigerian or West African.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm 37% Nigerian from my ancestry. I think a lot of us are probably
a lot of us
area.
are. I was teaching a class. I teach a Black History class for retirees for DC 37. And we were talking about these ancestry websites. So I went to look at my own again. And it's so interesting that I have like a second cousin, someone very closely related that I don't know. So we're beginning to try to figure out how we're connected. It's fascinating when you look at these DNA sites to get a sense of where you are. I suggest that, first of all, I know there's lots of concerns about some of these sites selling your DNA. Some do. Ancestry does not. They promise that they'll never sell your DNA. And certainly, I still have not, but really want to do AfricanAncestry.com. Anik and I should just both do it at some point. It's not cheap, though. It is not cheap, but we both need to do it. And I know that there's some members of the shrine that have done it. And so definitely it's another thing that we should definitely do. It's fascinating when you get to see what your ancestry is. And sometimes there are questions that are raised rather than answers. So for example, for some time, it used to say that my lineage followed like the Caribbean and South America, speaking to my mother coming from Guyana, and my father's family from the south of the United States. Recently, they updated the DNA from my mother's side, saying that it was most found in the United States. What does that mean? We're having a rich conversation about it. We don't know. It probably means that some of her ancestry was here earlier than we expected. Who knows what that means? I don't even know what that means. But some of these questions are questions that are amazing. The first time when I got a response from Ancestry.com, it said that part of my father's ancestry had come from Jamaica, and we had known no one from Jamaica who had been in the United States at a certain time. So I called Ancestry and told this polite little Tamil lady off because what she was saying wasn't answering my question. And I was honestly offended. And then maybe a month later, I was with my father before he made his transition at the doctor's office. And a nurse was being so polite to him and so caring to him that finally he looked at her and he said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "I'm from Jamaica." And he said, "Oh, my great-grandfather's from there." I said, "What?" He said, "I just found some papers saying that he was from Jamaica." I said, "You know what, Dad? You didn't share that with me. I told off that nice little lady on the phone." So these bits of information about our lineage are fascinating. So perhaps we should have a broader conversation about it as well.
So a few more people jumped in.
Yes.
We have Militant Bro out in Jamaica.
Ankh Ma'at, Jamaica, the country, or Jamaica, New York?
Jamaica.
Jamaica is further. Is Jamaica further away than Ontario? Maybe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so, based on where we are at least. So I think Jamaica takes it so far. Who else do we have?
We have Jason Edwards.
Ankh Ma'at to you, one of our full members. Ankh Ma'at. Good to hear from you, dear brother.
We have KP Jackson out in Dallas, Texas.
Ankh Ma'at. Ankh Ma'at.
We have Lesior. Where are you from? Let us know. Jose Francis. Where are you from?
Ankh Ma'at.
And Kemra Jata out in Sweden. Kasumai, I guess is the name.
Sweden. Are you in Sweden now? Because Sweden would be the furthest point from us. Are you in Sweden now? Or are you from Sweden?
And we have Nay Owl in Virginia. Sharice Clement out in Cleveland.
Ankh Ma'at.
Yeah.
Ankh Ma'at. I don't know if we usually get a lot of folks from Cleveland. Maybe one or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ankh Ma'at.
So we already have some questions that are coming in. I don't know if you want to go ahead and get started with the opening.
Sure, let's do that.
And he's in Sweden now.
He's in Sweden now. That's the furthest away, Kemra Jata. Ankh Ma'at.
And welcome, Sinette Sandra Arrington out in the BK.
One of our full members. Ankh Ma'at to you. Come forward, please. Anika, let's do the opening of the way. You know that this is the ritual, the ceremony that was brought into its current form by our shrine elder, Baba Hebru Ankh Ra Samad Sepata. So we're going to do the opening of the way. We're going to do it in the manner that our elder would have done. So we're going to be facing the camera, but you should begin facing east. We're going to do it in that manner. Okay? Let's begin. Please stand with your left foot forward. Expose your palms in front of you. And then you're going to put your left hand a bit further forward than your right hand, and your right hand can be a little bit further down. In some ways, it mirrors the way that you are standing as well. This is known as the pose of adoration. It is a position, a stance that we will see our Kemetic ancestors utilize for thousands of years on temple walls, thousands of years in tombs, thousands of years in papyri. It is an important position as we both give and receive divine energy. At this point, what you're going to do is you're going to take a deep breath and try to breathe from your navel. Breathe down here, not up here, down here. And then you're going to chant the word for everlasting divine life, Ankh. As you chant it, try to chant, it's a nasal sound in this instance. You're going to be chanting from up here. So that you're bringing energy from here to here. Okay, let's begin. Take your breath.
Anetrak in bet het.
Anetrak in bet het.
Nuke in bet het.
Nuke in bet het. Anetrak hapi.
Anetrak hapi.
Nuke hapi.
Nuke hapi.
Twelve winter.
12 winter.
Make your turn.
Anetrak serket.
Anetrak serket.
Nuke serket.
Nuke serket. Anetrak kebsenu.
Anetrak kebsenu.
Nuke kebsenu.
Nuke kebsenu.
12 winter.
12 winter. Netrak Ast.
Anetrak Ast.
Nuk Ast.
Nuk Ast. Anetrak Amset.
Netrak Amset.
Nuk Amset.
Nuk Amset.
Twelve Winter.
12 Winter. Netrak Neat.
Anetrak Neat.
Nuk Neat.
Nuk Neat. Anetrak Dwamutef.
Netrak Dwamutef.
Nuk Dwamutef.
Nuk Dwamutef.
12 Winter.
12 Winter. Netrak Newt.
Anetrak Newt.
Nuk Newt.
Nuk Newt. Anetrak Geb.
Netrak Geb.
Nuk Geb.
Nuk Geb.
12 Winter.
12 Winter.
Anetrak Shoe.
Netrak Shoe.
Shoe. Shoe. Shoe. Shoe. Nuk Shoe.
Netrak Tefnut.
Anetrak Tefnut. 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 Nuk Tefnut. 12 Winter. Netrak Paut Interu. Nuk Paut Interu. Netrak and Boo Interu. Nuk and Boo Interu. 12 Winter. Winter. Dwa, 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 dwa to you for doing the opening of the way with us. This is the ceremony, the ritual that Baba Heru brought into existence. And we would like to truly, truly say dwa to him for doing this amazing thing. So I think at this point we should go into Hesi, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Before we go into Hesi, I'm looking at questions today. Shane the Watcher 616 says, is there a rule against making your own Kemetic name? Can I say this to you? In the Kemetic tradition, the fundamental principles of the Kemetic tradition is that you are a divine entity, imbued with all of the rights and responsibilities of the divine. In that instance, you should understand that making your own Kemetic name is a powerful and important process. There is nothing wrong with you devising your own Kemetic name at all. Sometimes people look for assistance from folks who are part of the priesthood, part of the Wenwet, and that's fine as well. But certainly if you choose your own Kemetic name, this is a part of your self-determination, and Kemetic communities will recognize that you have chosen your name. There'll be you won't get any Kemetic shade, right, from practitioners because you've chosen your own name. And so certainly if you seek to do so, you can do that as well. Just let us know who you are when you do it, because sometimes people are known by a bunch of names and we don't always know who we're talking to. And that's fine. I even know practitioners who have added to their name or changed parts of their name based on the journey that they've been on. They've gotten to a certain part in their journey and they recognize that their name doesn't, it described their journey to that point, but they need something else to help force them forward in that point in their development. Because a name in many ways is not the same as a name of, for example, inanimate objects. This is a podium, right? It will remain a podium regardless of what you do to it. It will always be a podium. Even if it's broken, it'll just be a broken podium. Human beings are not named in that manner. Human beings are supposed to draw inspiration, draw energy, draw power and vitality from their name. And so it is of critical importance for us to recognize that names are critical to your development. And so choosing your own name, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Nothing at all. Okay. So perhaps we should go into Hesi. Mm-hmm. And I believe we're going to be playing a Hesi from that family, that wonderful couple that is living in Dodoagana, but spending a whole lot of time in Kemet right now, the Schaefer's family, correct?
Yes, this is the one that I wrote.
Okay, wonderful. Which Hesi is this?
Light as a feather.
So this is the Hesi that Anika authored and worked with the Schaefer family to actually record it, to master it, and they've done an amazing job. So please, I believe this is the Iri Hesi, correct? Mm-hmm. Please enjoy.
E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-Ka-E, Eter. Sejem ten, Sebeken, worship ten, Iyam Shen. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-Ka-E, Eter. Sejem ten, Sebeken, worship ten, Iyashen. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-Ka-E, Eter. Sejem ten, Sebeken, worship ten, Iyashen. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-Ka-E, Eter. Sejem ten, Sebeken, worship ten, Iyashen. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-Ka-E, Eter. Sejem ten, Sebeken, worship ten, Iyashen. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes. E-D-E-E-B-E, Isem shoes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That is absolutely a beautiful Hesi. Anika, do you want to talk to us about what they were actually saying?
It was talking about being light as a feather, opening up to the divine and asking the divine to be within at all times, and asking the divine to hear my call.
So keep in mind that what we're doing really is we're galvanizing powerful divine energy through song. And so listening to this Hesi should help you focus on a particular aspect of the divine that you are going to be using to do the work that you need to do on a daily basis. We really hope that you use these, right? If you look, I'm not sure if this particular Hesi has its words on our Facebook page. I don't know if it does, but certainly it's one of those things that we could easily share with you. We would love for you to be able to feel comfortable using the Hesi in your daily life. So at this point, I think what we'd like to do is go ahead and open up the room. Anika, if you feel comfortable maybe sharing the link to the StreamYard now, it would be great. And as I said to you earlier, you should really feel comfortable. You have it, right? Okay. You should really feel comfortable joining us in conversation today. Keep in mind that as you join us, we're going to expect that you are going to have your camera on so we can see you. And also, we're going to choose those folks who we know who have been part of Kemetic Ascension. Perhaps also you've been full members of the Shrine to join us first. So we can get into an open dialogue. We've never done this for Kemetic Ascension. And Anika and I were talking at our last Kemetic Ascension 2 weeks ago about doing this. And she thought it was a good idea. I thought it was too. So we figured what we would do is we would do that. We'd simply allow some of you to come in. I know that you often have lots of questions, and the Shrine really has not had an open forum for folks to try to answer or to engage in dialogue around some of those questions. Some of them might be questions about your practice, being a practitioner in the ancient African tradition. Perhaps you also have questions about some things that are going on in the media, in our world today. There are lots of things that have happened in the last week or two that are both interesting and in many instances disturbing. Perhaps those are things you'd like to talk about. So certainly we would love to open the floor and have a general conversation today. You should also know, some of you might even have questions about initiation, which is about to begin. We're going to be announcing the date very soon. I believe that most of the interviews, if not all of the interviews, have been held. Folks, if you have not put in an application, you would really need to put it in immediately if you would like to become a full member of the Shrine of Ma'at family. So that is something that you should do ASAP.
We have a question that was in the chat prior.
Yes, please go ahead.
Can you speak to the oneness or the commonalities amongst African traditions? That's from Brock Tate.
The comment is about how we see so many similarities in the African traditions. And let me say to you that that question is one that has filled several books and should fill many more. There are so many similarities in the traditions that we see all throughout Africa. There are similarities in the languages we see in Africa. There's similarities in the manner in which people of African descent view the divine and view their relationship to the universe. So, for example, you can look at the Yoruba tradition and find that it in many ways mirrors the Kemetic tradition. You can look at the Kemetic tradition and say that it seems to be very similar to the tradition of the Fon people. You're going to see many, many, many similarities. What are some of the similarities that you'll see? Very often in African traditions, you'll recognize that African peoples tend to recognize the divine in everyone and in all things around us. African traditions also tend to place a very large importance on understanding and reckoning of the movements of the heavens. So the celestial story is part of our story here, and we can understand some of what is occurring here by looking up above us. This fundamental as above, so below conversation is one that is fundamental to Africa. We see in African spirituality extensive usage of divine symbolism. In the Western traditions, they have tried to render their tradition as extremely literal and historical. That's not something you see in the African traditions. In the African traditions, we see that the divine feminine is of preeminence, is of critical importance, something that has been downplayed extensively. You can almost consider it non-existent in the Abrahamic traditions. That's not something you see in the African traditions. So there are lots and lots of similarities, and I think there are lots of reasons why these similarities occur. Several of them could be, one, because for a very long period of time, in order to be a human on the planet, it meant you were an African. What am I saying? I'm saying that for an extensive period of time, the only humans in the world were Africans. For an extensive period of time, Africa was the home, particularly of modern humans, Homo sapiens, modern humans, African. And so because of, yes, Anika's saying, please don't give your whole African history class in one answer. Yes, understand that we see many, many similarities. And also one of the major reasons is because the Kemetic tradition was fundamental to all world traditions. African traditions, yes, and also those other traditions that we see in the world. That's another major reason why that occurs. Okay.
So we have the Jati, who has logged in first.
Good. Is he coming? You going to bring him in?
Yes, I'm
Good.
Uncle
Uncle Ma'ad. And look at his space. Listen, the space that he has created out there is wonderful, And so we are seeing our Jati of Phoenix, Tehuti forever. It's wonderful to see you, dear brother. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's great having being on. Great seeing you. I love the energy.
Now, is there anything you want to share with us at all going on in Phoenix, or things that you are thinking about, or questions you think are important, topics you think we should discuss?
I really just want to share my gratitude for creating a space there in New York and also here in Phoenix, so that we can feel comfortable being our African selves, helping us guide us through history from an Afrocentric worldview, and helping to get rid of the misnomers, and helping us to reimagine and understand exactly who we are as a people in our history.
Dwa to you for all the work that you're doing as well. He's doing some work on the West Coast that's very important too. That and as an active and important leader in the Shrine of Odd, he's doing some important things out there. So Dwa to you as well. Hopefully this means that spaces like this will proliferate, right? Spaces like this will allow many people to be able to go ahead and feel comfortable with who they are, rather than fleeing and running from who they are. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's one of the reasons why we thought that we should do this even online, because there are communities of people, small numbers of people, small pockets of people who are pushing back against the narrative that the only spiritual traditions you can be in were the ones that were forced upon us in enslavement. And so it is so important for us to be able to create spaces where Africans can be Africans. So yeah, it's really, really critical. It's very critical.
Okay.
You want to bring someone up? You don't have to leave, let him leave. He could stay. You want to bring some more folks on?
Yeah.
Was there more you think we should talk about, Jati?
You know what? I don't want to take up too much time. I really appreciate being on.
I know you was going to say that. They're so humble. You should stay there, though. We're not saying you can stay if you can, and we can bring on other people too. You can also add to the conversation as a practitioner.
So I'm going to add send Jason home.
Send Jason. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at. Another full member. Good to see you. Thoughts, comments, questions? What's on your mind, dear brother?
Well, I just wanted to say, I don't know if you remember when I was taking your African American history class, I told you I traveled to Texas and I had visited the plantation that my family came from. And you told me I should write a book about it.
Yes, you should. Are you saying that you're working on the book?
I've started actually working on it. I don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to be a while, but I'm going to actually do the book.
Yes. It's important. So many. Well, before I start blathering, because I know I want to talk about this topic too. Talk to us about what that experience was like.
Well, I was familiar with it, but I knew about the plantation, but I didn't know that's the same. Like my grandparents only lived like a mile and a half from this place. And I never knew that they actually were on that plantation. That never crossed my mind. So, and my dad, they didn't, my family, they don't talk about history. And that's like my whole thing is I love history. And so I've got an actual genealogy expert coming to my house today.
Wow.
An old friend of mine, and I didn't even know she did genealogy. So So that's going to be part of it. But the experience it was an amazing experience. You know, I didn't feel really like any sadness or anger when I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just all the questions that came to mind, like, you know. But it was a good experience for me. I'm glad I got to go.
What's the name of the space? What is it called? I mean, back then or even today, what do they call it?
It's called the Levi Jordan Plantation. It's in Brazoria, Texas. It's about 70 miles south. I want to say southwest of Houston. It's about 70 miles southwest of Houston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went down there all the time when we were younger. My dad took us down there all the time. But
did you know that was where your family was when you went down there, or was it just this is where your family is at, so let's go see where your family is? Or did they make the connection that some of your family was enslaved there too?
No, they never mentioned any of that. Right. Any of that. They didn't talk about. But I did find out I do have an aunt who has been keeping track of the history somewhat.
Right.
So I got to hurry up and get down there and talk to her. She's like 80 years old.
You know, Sen Jason, I think a lot of us are uncomfortable with the history of our enslavement. I mean, it's painful what happened to us, right?
Yeah.
And so in our community, we don't talk about it a lot. But the reality is, I think that your comment is a powerful one. You said, I didn't feel anger or sadness. And I think that one of the reasons why you don't feel anger or sadness is because you're into history like I am, which means that you see the history of our enslavement as different than most people do. You recognize that we won, right? So,
right. That's the thing.
All things happened, we won, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't see it as a sad story. I see it as a triumphant story.
That's right.
You know. So.
That's right. That's right. Well, look, I'm gonna be on your back to write that book.
I know. I already know. But it's good to see everybody and talk to you.
It's good to see you too, man.
Yeah. Make sure you keep me posted about the Vegas Africana History Channel.
I will. As soon as I know, I'll shoot you a message too.
Okay.
And both of you, the Jati of Phoenix, Tilly Forever, I'll let both of you know as soon as we know when we're going to. Do I see a grandbaby on this in this window? Is that who I'm seeing? That's a grandbaby. Now I know y'all probably thinking, oh, look at her child, because she looks, I mean, look, that sister is doing something right? So as soon as I said grandbaby, I'm like, that's not her grandbaby. That is her grandbaby. That is Uncle Ma'at to you. Uncle Ma'at to you. How are you? Your image is glitching a little bit, so I'm not sure if we're able to hear you.
Bouncing, just bouncing the baby.
Oh.
Now I got two of my grandboys here. Zaire, say hi. Wave hi.
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 Well, Uncle Ma'at family.
Uncle Ma'at.
Want to be brief since I got the two boys. I'm in Atlanta the weekend. I'll be going home back to the DMV today.
Wow.
But I thought that this was way fitting for these two little princes to be, exposed to this. So we're having Kemetic Ascension with my grandboys today. So
we're giving them divine energy. We're giving them divine energy.
Absolutely, and giving them that knowledge, planting those seeds early.
Yes, yes.
Just a very few things, piggybacking off of what Tahuti said, and Uncle Ma'at to the family. It's a lot of folks I could shout out, even to Abu Jamar for just being on the stoop, leading me here to the shrine. Anika, our Himneta in Tepe and him Inter in Tepe. Let's see. There's a lot. There's a lot. I could go on with all the influence and the support that I've had. You all know not too long ago I was caring for my aunt, for her end of life stage. They had given her 2 days to live in October. I left work. I went and stayed by her bedside. She is back to work. It is 4 months later. she's working, she's driving, she's doing all the things that they told her she wouldn't be doing. And I really appreciate my family, my shrine family, for sending the divine of healing. I had so many, people praying and just calling and supporting. And I just want everybody to know that I'm still here. You all haven't seen me a lot on social media for a great reason. There's no secret that a lot of folks have mentioned their interest and my own interest in becoming a part of the priesthood. So I've been kind of laying back and actually doing the work.
Yes, yes.
Trying to get closer to my divine self so that I can be prepared, so that when the books open up, it will be more than just a title.
Yes.
I can step this life. You guys have done so much more than you can even imagine. And just like Tahuti said, thank you for the space, but you've created the space worldwide, across the globe. We are, whether it's through the frequencies of the internet or in person, we are family, and we really show up for each other. So I appreciate each and every one of you. There's so many connections to be made and that have been made, and these things will go on for a lifetime. So I just want to send myrrh to all of you and let you know that nothing has changed with Shenka. If you need me, you already know. You call, I'm on the way. It's always been like that. It's from day one until the end. So
and
love all, and I'm just glad to be a part of this, what we're doing here.
And the first three folks that came on obviously are very active members of the shrine. So I'm very pleased that they came in. Sanet Shenka is another very active member. We even see her. She comes up from the DMV. So can I say Ankh and Ma'at to you, Ankh and Ma'at to all those beautiful little babies hanging out there with grandma, looking like they smiling like, oh, we like being with grandma. So I can't, just Ankh and Ma'at to you. And I hope all is going wonderfully and infernally for you all out there in ATL. Please travel back to the DMV safely too, okay? Okay, my eye. I also see we have an elder on who was showing my book for a second there. How are you, elder? Can we hear you? I think you might be muted.
Let's see. Go ahead.
Ankh and Ma'at, Jabari.
Ankh and Ma'at.
And your queen. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, great. Wonderful. Talk to us. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're at.
I'm Ronald Green. I'm in Alton, Illinois. And I try to watch you every Sunday.
Wow. Wonderful. Wonderful. You're in Illinois. Now, here's an ignorant New Yorker talking. How far are you from the cities that we know in Illinois? What's the closest city to you?
I'm 25 miles from St. Louis.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. 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 Yeah. And I know we just had Sen Jason on, who was from East St. Louis. So there's a lot of Black folks in that area, y'all. I'm telling you. As East Coast folks, we don't necessarily know where these big buckets of Black people are living and doing some powerful things for the culture. So definitely Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at. And Dwa for joining us regularly too. It's wonderful to be able to put some faces with the names, right? These are regular. So Elder Ronald, we've seen many times. It's wonderful to see you.
I'm not going to stay on long because I'm hitting a feedback, so I'm not going to stay on here long.
Okay.
I just want to holler and say, admire you and your queen.
Thank you.
Ankh and Ma'at to you. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Dua for the book, for purchasing the book. I see there's a bookmark in it too. He's like, I'm reading it. If you have questions, comments, things you like, things you didn't like, please reach out and let me know. Ankh and Ma'at to you, elder. Can I also, Anika, I see there's a question also in the chat.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions I wanted to get.
Did you want to read one? And we'll also come to the other brother who was sitting there.
Yes, Sen Gaston.
That's Sen Gaston out in Bennu in Phoenix. What's up, Sen Gaston? Why don't you read one of the questions and we'll go to Sen Gaston.
Okay. So for a person looking for African traditions, is it a good practice for them to find and follow the ancient African spiritual tradition of the African country their ancestors came from?
That's a very important question, because I think that sometimes we think that we should follow the traditions that we draw lineage from. And I think that that's not a bad approach. It's not bad for you to say, well, my family comes from this area and I'm going to practice the traditions of that particular area. But I think that there are limitations with looking at it like that too, as well. When African people all over the continent speak to the ancestors, they don't just speak to the ancestors that are in their direct lineage, right? The concept of an ancestor is broader than just those people in their lineage. And so that is part of the story. Another part of the story, these are the limitations. Another part of the story is African people on the continent travel extensively. So for example, and this is not gonna be a long answer. I see Anika already give me that look like, is he gonna go into his African history class again? You should know that like maybe almost a half of the people on the continent draw lineage from the Bantu people that came from that area below Nigeria, in Nigeria and southern Nigeria and below. So many of the languages of those people are stamped throughout the continent, particularly throughout the central and southern section of the continent. It speaks to the fact that African people travel. So to limit yourself to a geographical region also has limitations, because our ancestors in the ancient world didn't limit themselves to a geographical region. The final thing I'm going to say is that I'm going to repeat something that we said earlier. There are so many similarities in the African traditions. You're going to see them, whether you're talking about the ones that are more prevalent in the West, and even when you travel on the continent, you're going to see many similarities as well. So I would suggest that you utilize the system that speaks to you. And while you utilize a system that speaks to you, we should not be so provincial like we see in the Western traditions, where I'm a Christian and I think something's wrong with the Muslims. I'm a Muslim, I got issues with the Jews. We should not be looking at it like that. We should recognize that we can use a particular system to assist us to connect to the divine, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to experience, have relationships with, and even sometimes practice with people in other systems as well. Just a few months ago, the priesthood of the Shrine of Ad, a number of the priests went to a Yoruba festival. So for example, we went to the festival, not because, we are extensive or extremely familiar with all of the practices of the Yoruba, but because they're our family too. And so I think that's the way we should look at it. Let's not be linear and historical like we see in the Western traditions. When I tell Christians, for example, that Mary, the mother of Jesus, is described more in the Quran than in the Bible, they just simply say I'm wrong. It's bizarre, because I said, well, have you read the text? Are you familiar? Have you studied it? No, but you must be wrong. That's how provincial people in the West have become. We don't need to do that. So I think that you should use the system that speaks to you. Definitely. That's the shortest answer I could possibly give to that. Was that short enough, Anika, or could I have pruned it a bit more?
Yeah.
Can we also go to our dear brother, Brother Gaston, who is there in Phoenix as well? How you doing, dear brother?
Yes.
Uncle Ma'at, Hotep family.
Uncle Ma'at and Hotep. That's one of the folks that is often arm in arm with our Jati as well. The two of them, they get a lot of stuff done out there. They're arm in arm doing some powerful stuff there. How are you doing? What you up to, Brother Gaston?
Oh, I'm great. I'm blacktastic actually, but I'm just constantly working on self improvement and raising my vibration as high as possible. So that's the goal.
Yes. As practitioners, we always have to be in practice, right? We have to be in practice. And so we see folks, there's a wonderful community that is growing out in Phoenix. You're seeing two of the people that are into everything. One of the things that I love about Phoenix, by the way, is that They're into things, right? So it's not just the shrine. They're involved in other stuff that's going on. They have relationships with other people of African descent. They have a close relationship with even the Nation of Islam and with Black Lives Matter. And that's how we should view our movement, right? We shouldn't just say we're Kemites, everybody else is wrong. What would that be? What are we trying to replicate the problems of the Abrahamic traditions in the African traditions? That's not how we should be. And so the folks that you're seeing, the two brothers that you're seeing there in Phoenix, have been really, really good emblems of how a practitioner should go about their life in the Phoenix area. So, and in the modern world. So I want to salute them. I'm glad that you get to see their faces. We're going to do this more so that you get to see the folks who are doing the work and not just see them chatting and typing in the chat room. So can I salute both of you? A salute. Kemetic salute to you all with all the work that you've been doing. You're going to see them more, because I think that one of the things that we might do is even just sometimes go particularly to Bennu, go to Phoenix and have them do something as part of our Kemetic Ascension. So you will definitely be seeing them more. Wonderful. Other questions, Anika?
Where can I learn how to practice the prayer movements and find Kemetic names?
When you talk about the prayer movements, you're probably talking about the movements of
Opening of the way.
the opening of the way. You're going to, if you go to YouTube, you're going to see that Anika and I did a short video. That video is over 10 years old now. Can you believe it?
There's one on Facebook.
And there's also one that Anika did
on the
on our
webpage.
website. On our website. If you go to shrineofma'at.org, you're going to see the video that Anika did. It was beautiful. The background is beautiful. You believe it or not, we're just doing it in a parking lot. But when you do those movements and chant those sounds, you feel the vibrations around you. And so if you go to our website at shrineofma'at.org, you're going to see the video that she did with the opening of the way. If you go to YouTube and type in opening of the way, you're going to see the Shrine of Ma'at come up as well. One of them talks more about the names that we're calling, and the other one is more accurate with the movements. When we did the one for Kemetic Legacy today that you'll see on YouTube, the movements weren't exactly as precise as they could have been, because we had cables everywhere in the studio. So we were kind of really moving in a very small, manner. So the movements are better that Anika is doing. But if you look at the discussion that we did on Kemetic Legacy today, you'll hear more about the way the movements are about the names that are called when we do the ritual as well. In terms of names, the naming process is one that can be intensely personal. It should also be something that helps guide your movements going forward. Names are mantras. Names are Hesi. Names allow us to draw power as we do the work that we're expected to do, the work that our ancestors have divinely ordained us to do. So as you are considering a name, I would say in the very beginning, start with something simple. Start with describing who you are and what your journey is. And then from there, look for names that speak to that journey. If you need assistance, the Shrine of Ma'at is here and other entities are here as well. But definitely I would suggest that that's what you should do. And to know more about the practice overall, so you can become a stronger practitioner. In the shrine, the course, I hate to call it course because it sounds so secular, but the study program that we do so that you can become a stronger practitioner is called initiation. Initiation allows you to put your foot in the water. And as you put your foot in the water, eventually you'll completely submerge yourself within the ancient spiritual practices of our African ancestors. So if you are interested in initiation, your application for this round needs to be in like now. You might have just a few days, not a week, a few days to make that decision. So please go ahead and do that. Yes.
Okay. Send
Anika.
Jason in the room.
We have who?
Send Jason in the room.
Uncle Ma'at, dear brother. How are you?
So,
You're muted, brother.
That's right. Hotel.
Hotep. We've seen you before, right? You're familiar.
Yes, you probably see me on Shaka's channel.
Yes,
One or two,
yes,
one or
yes,
couple.
yes, yes. Yes, Uncle Ma'at to you. I think we had a conversation before. How are you, brother?
I'm doing fine. How is everybody?
Did you have a comment or question?
I just wanted to come in and just let you know I was in. If the conversation was I guess anything up in the air, I guess it's fine with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I'm glad that you came in. You can see our dear brother is one of the younger practitioners. Sometimes it seems like all the practitioners have gray, right? It's wonderful to see younger people saying these traditions are ours and we're going to continue to move on. So I want to salute you again for being here and for being you, and for being fully you. I want to salute you for doing that as well. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
I see our brother Shane the Watcher 616 says we should promote the videos from KLT, from Kemetic Legacy Today. You are absolutely right. When we first started doing Kemetic Legacy Today, YouTube wasn't even as big as it is today. Some of the episodes on it aren't even properly labeled. That's my fault, by the way. We were thinking that we were going to let YouTube host the video and we were going to just simply place them on our website. We didn't recognize at the time that we were doing it that there would be so many more people looking at the videos on YouTube than ever would see our website. So you're correct that there's a lot more work that we need to do. And believe it or not, I'm going to say this, I'm going to get beat up. Anika's going to beat me up. Someone else is going to beat me up. And rightfully so. There are episodes that were never aired. There are episodes that are still in the can that we never put on YouTube and never even aired on the public access stations we were working with around the nation. We need to work to be able to do that so we can get them out as well. And we truly also think that Kemetic Legacy Today should come back, right? It should come back, and it should come back completely under the auspices of the Shrine of Ma'at, so that the institution of the shrine actually produces Kemetic Legacy Today, because there are so many more conversations that we should have. There's so many more guests that we should have. And I think the conversation would be even fuller now than it was when Anika and I were doing it almost on our own. Now we have lots of other practitioners that we work with regularly that would add to it as well. So hopefully it will come back soon and we'll be able to continue to talk about it.
There's a lot of questions coming
Yes,
in.
other questions.
Yes. Do you offer any mentorships? This is KP Jackson.
I think the best way we can describe the relationship that we have with particular practitioners is it's mostly within the shrine. Let's describe it that way. Because there's so much work to be done that it can be challenging to work directly with individuals. But I'm going to say to you that now we have full priests, folks who have been trained that can assist with that as well. So the answer is yes, but it's mostly for folks that are within the shrine. So if you're interested, let us know. Even that doesn't mean that we would never work directly with folks who are not in the shrine, because we have and we do. So reach out to us. Send us an email, text. If you have our number, once you email, we will send you out. I'll give you my cell phone number so we can communicate regularly. There are several people who are not shrine members that I speak to regularly as well. And so definitely the major purpose of the shrine, one of the major purposes of the shrine, is to assist practitioners to become higher level practitioners of the African tradition. I think that's kind of what you're asking. Other questions or comments, Anika?
Shahid Douglas wants to know the translation for the opening of the way.
Essentially, I'm going to do this quickly because some of it is on our website and in the video. But one of the things that you'll hear us say is a necharak. And that simply, it means something like, it can be translated to show me your face, right? In the African traditions, we believe that the divine forces are everywhere, but that we can, in many ways, hone in on the frequency of a particular divine energy. And so when you say, show me your face, it's almost like I'm asking that energy to come forward in its strongest sense to assist me in this moment. And then we say Anuk or Nuke, and we say that name, which means It's come forward, in many ways, come forward within me. I am that divine force. Those are the major terms that you'll continue to hear. And some of the other terms that you're hearing are the names for the deities, the names for the divine forces, the names of the Neteru that we are asking to come forward. Some of them are Neteru that are best described as the cardinal points, as connected to our divine organs, so that we are the cardinal points. We are the universe. So this one, for example, is who? Who is this one? You thought I was going to give you the name. Who is this one? What animal does that look like? Who do you think this person is? Anyone can answer.
Jason Holmes says Anpu.
Anpu is a jackal, right? And this person is this character is a jackal as well, but this one is not Anpu. When we do the opening of the way, you never hear us say, it's too small.
Mm-hmm.
You never hear us say Anpu. So this is another entity. Let me give you a hint. His name means he gives thanks to his mother.
Just said Duamutef.
Duamutef. Who said this?
Jason Holmes.
Duamutef, yes. And you can hear Dua in it, right? Duamutef. He gives thanks to his mother. This is that entity. And so each of the entities have names that we call forward, and that is what you're hearing in the opening of the way. That is what you're hearing in the opening of the way. Are there other questions?
Yes. Just scroll back up. Do you have or recommend a study guide or book list to study ancient African history, African spiritual traditions, and their origins in modern religion and civilization?
The best answer I can give to you is yes. And that list is always changing. I think, can you please send me an email? Send me an email at Jed, D-J-E-D, wonderful, thank you, at trinamod.org. And I'll share it with you. And we'll probably share it with everyone as well. I think there's some really good books. I'm going to say that list is constantly changing because I am constantly changing. As a high priest, that I'm still a practitioner, right? That means that I read things constantly and I draw inspiration from things. And I think that there are things that are written that I'm unaware of, that I become aware of, or new things are written. And so this is a very powerful thing that we should remain in conversation about. There are many, many books that I would suggest that you should read. And there's certainly a list that I would suggest. In fact, in history, for example, some of you might know that I'm teaching a history course right now. And it just happens to be sitting here. One of the books that I think is really good in talking about African history in and of itself is this one. This is the one I use for my course. It's called Africa, Volume 1, African History and Culture Before 1900. Really good book. Really, really good book. And so that's the book that my college students at Hunter are actually using to study African history. And I think that there are several books that you can read that really will help you not only understand the story, but become a better practitioner as well. Okay. Other questions? We're coming up on a close soon.
What are your views on FBA?
Who asked that question?
Bwana Haguziki.
I think that you're making a very clear commentary about the foundational Black American movement that has been fostered, has been brought into existence by our brother Tariq Nasheed, someone that I know, as you know, because I've been in two of his documentaries. I actually believe that it is critically important for us to fight for those things we deserve, for building the United States against our will, for being torn away from our home. I'm talking of no other than the powerful and controversial topic of reparations. Anything that anyone can do that will push that football down the field, that will help further the aim of reparations, is a good thing. I can easily critique all of the movements. I was part of the reparation movement before any of these people were part of the reparation movement. I was a member of of now I'm gonna forget the name. What's the name of the organization I was part of in the 80s and 90s? Chokwe Lumumba was the head for a while. I'm having a senior moment. But it was certainly an organization that was focused on reparations for the United States, for Africans in the United States, and it also helped. Not CIMO, no. And it also helped create the legislation that both organizations are talking about. In Cobra, thank you. In Cobra. Someone said that?
Yeah, Eitan Heru.
Yeah, not surprised. And Cobra is the group that I was a member of for a really long time. And so let me say to you that the movement for us looking for reparations is an old one. It's really an old one. If you really want to know about people who fought for reparations and gave it all for reparations, look at the story of Catley House. So many of us are unfamiliar with her narrative, but there's an incredible book about her fighting for reparations almost immediately after the Civil War called My Face is Black is True. My Face is Black is True. Those people who talk about reparations should know the story of Catley House. But I guarantee you most of the people that are arguing about it now have never heard of her. So I think that rather than critiquing those movements, because I can, it's probably better for me to say that we should be trying to create a stronger drive toward reparations. I also think that both movements, in some ways, probably unintentionally, maybe even intentionally, have gotten to the point where they're segmenting people of African descent. And I don't think that we should do that. I truly believe that if we're going to ask reparations, we should be asking for tiers of reparations. Tiers. Because you can't tell me that if your family got here from, I don't know, from Panama in 1868, that you don't deserve recompense from the United States government for the dastardly, brutal things that they've done to your family. Simply because you weren't actually enslaved here doesn't mean that the United States government should owe you for what it's done, for its abuses. So I think there should be tiers. The largest tier should go to those people who were enslaved in the United States during enslavement. But then there should also be another pool that goes to other Africans who have been struggling along with those people for a very, very long time. And that the people in the first tier should also get the second pool. So think of it as pool A and pool B. If your family was here during enslavement, you should get both A and B. If your family here came after enslavement, they should get pool B. That's a way to galvanize a larger reparations movement rather than pit Black folk against each other, which I guarantee you Europeans and those who are fighting for European power, for white power, want to happen. That's my closest answer.
So yes. We have Oaktown Sen and KP Jackson.
Ankin Ma'at. Now, let me say this to you. Isn't the brother on the left? Now, didn't we know him as Sen Ernest? That's your name, right? But you're Heru Patah. He's Heru Patah, right?
I'm the man of many names, apparently. Tahuti, Ernest. Yes, that's me.
When I see your Kemetic name, I don't connect you to the brother that's a full member. Can I apologize to you and restore my aunt with you?
Yes, sir. No, I understand totally. Congratulations to you on having such a good memory as that you do on remembering so many names. The only part that was confusing to me is like I'm literally typing member Tahuti, but I mean I don't know what it's like on your side and going through all the names. So no worries.
Part of the challenge is that unlike today, today I can see everything. Usually I'm standing up here just talking to the camera and Anika's back there. So Anika might understand one thing. I might understand something different. I'm the one blabbing up here. She's the one trying to motion to me and do all kinds of signification to me that I do not understand. So we just need to acknowledge that you are a full member and that you're a wonderful member. We got a chance to hang out with him and play And I remember first meeting him at the bowling alley. Yes, Shrine of Mod members have fun too. We had a really fun game at the bowling alley during our last nationwide meeting. And you should expect, if you are a full member of the Shrine, we're going to have our next nationwide meeting during during, we have 8 questions. Oh my goodness. During the weekend where we invite new members in. So let me say Ankh and Ma'at to you, and Dwa to you for being with us. I don't know if you have something you wanted to say, and I also see our other brother there that might have something they want to say as well.
Yes, quickly. Just one more thing. The not knowing who I am, all it because of all my fault for all my different names, all it does is encourage me to want to be more active so that you know who I am. Let me be more active. That means I'm not doing my part enough. But anyways,
he's so humble that he put it on himself. Just keep in mind that whenever you see Jabari for Kemetic Ascension, I get like no sleep. Tonight, this Ascension is the Ascension I got the most sleep in like a year, right? Because last night I was trying to read. My head was hitting the tablet. I just said, what am I doing? I'm not reading. I might as well go to sleep. So I actually went to sleep. Usually I've also had a little bit of sleep. So let me say dua to you. I'm glad that you came. I'm glad that
thank you.
That we can see your face too. Because I know who you are. I just didn't recognize your name.
Too. Understood. But there's one more point. The main reason I mainly came on, aside from trying to get over my one fear of being on the camera, is just to say what's going on in my city today. Something that I'm proud of. There's actually something started by a sister from the area. This is actually the 6th year that we're having a Black Joy Parade. I don't know if it's going on in other places in the country. I don't know if it happens in New York, Chicago, or whatnot. But if not, maybe it'd be a good idea to implement. It's not a protest. It's not a march. It's just all the African dancers. It's all the fraternities. It's everybody coming together. 20,000 quote unquote Black people coming together for a celebration for 7 hours. In fact, it's an hour-and-a-half parade, and at the end, it's a festival for all youth, for children, for our elders, and we even have a performance by George Clinton later on today. So it's just something I'm really yep. Last year was Ashanti. This year is George Clinton. So it's called a Black Joy Parade. I think it's something that should be implemented in all of our cities.
Yes,
so
yes. And if you could email us some information on that parade, maybe next year we'll try to come out for it. Can I say to you that with all of the work that we must do for justice for Black people, to also allow us to once again reintegrate our African selves, it's a lot of heavy work, right? Why not have a time that as a community we can do self-care and just enjoy each other, laugh with each other, dance with each other, drum with each other? I think that's an excellent idea. So it's wonderful. If you could send us just a link or something to what's going on, we'll search for it too. I think that it should be in every city because we have a lot of really heavy lifting to do. Why not spend some time also just being with the family and enjoying ourselves rather than always dealing with the difficulty of being Black in the United States? That's a great idea. It's a great idea. And she needs to be celebrated as well. She really does need to be celebrated. Yeah. Dua for that information.
All right. Dua.
Yeah. Brother, I see our other brother here. I didn't remember the name that you said, Anika.
KP Jackson.
Brother KP Jackson, how are you, brother?
Peace, brother. I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Man, peace to you, man. It's good to speak to you, man, for the first time. It's good to speak to you. So I just came out here I did have a question, but first I just wanted to thank you, man. Brother Jabari, man. We out here in the trenches, at least where I'm at, man. If I need to switch my accent up, I can, but I'm gonna talk to you.
We hear you, brother. Please, we want to hear your accent from where you from. Because Black people sound different ways. Could you what's going on where you at, brother?
So first I just wanted to thank you, man, because my standards for what it takes for me to listen to somebody and follow them, man, you exceed, man. When I first started watching and you used to debate people, man, I used to be over here like, man, these stupid, mad watching them, but then to watch how you deal with people, just you don't lose nothing by not engaging with aggression or something. Right. Maybe you can say it better, but that's what I see by looking at you. I got to tell you, thank you. I got your book. I got it off of Amazon before I knew you were giving out autographed copies, so I'm gonna try to buy it off their website again. But yeah, I just had a question. Is it anywhere we can go to like get a comprehensive timeline in one place and like of Kemet? Like, is it one place or something where I could study so everything will be comprehensive? Because I know stuff, but it's like bunched up 1,000-year gaps, and you know when you're debating people. So I don't want to be one of them. So where can I go to organize the facts?
I'm looking at Anika, brother KP, because I'm gonna tell you, she has said that for how long? She's made that comment for at least the last 25 years, that our people have not been good enough about helping us understand the time frames, right? I know that in my classes, I try to explain the time frames. I do a college level class on ancient Kemet. I do a college level class in African American history. We try to explain the time so that we understand how to put things together. I will also say that Brother Anthony Browder, I think he sells it on his website as well, has the most comprehensive timeline that I have seen.
Okay.
Right? There's a version of it that's like 18 inches long. There's a version of it that's like 5 feet long. And the powerful point of the timeline is it doesn't just give you Kemet and Kush, as many people call Nubia and all that other stuff. It shows you some of the things going on in other parts of the world. This is exactly what Anika was calling for. It still is not perfect. There's things I looked at the timeline and said, well, I don't know if I would have described it that way, but it's the best thing we have, right? If you go to his website, IKG, was it IKG.net, I think it is? If you go to his website, IKGinfo, I think, .net. If you go to his website, you'll probably see the timeline there. Because it's really helpful to understand that when you're trying to put together the story, the narrative of Africans as the progenitors, as the parents of all of civilization, understanding what happened when and how and where with who is part of the story. And sometimes if you're not familiar with it, if you haven't, like, for example, taken history classes, you've heard me say on Sonetta that people smash together thousands of years and they don't recognize that what they're saying is absolutely impossible. It just could not have happened, right? And so it's important for us to begin to understand what happened when, especially for people of African descent, because we are trying to reinstitute, we are trying to reconstruct this extremely long period of African excellence. If we don't know who did what, where, and when, it becomes much more difficult for us to reconstruct it. So that I would say is a really good. Do you see the
I just put the link on the screen.
But do you actually see the timeline in there? Or is that a lot more work than you can do while doing everything else too?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the.
Okay, brother. Can you also email me? Email me at jed@shrineofod.org, and I'll make sure that I find exactly where it is, and I'll show you. I'll connect you to it. The timeline.
I got the mentorship in the
under posters on the website.
It's under posters.
Yeah,
it's under posters on the website. You'll see
$100 for the large version.
The large one is expensive. Yeah, I bought the large one and handed it to Anika. By the way, Anika just simply said, "Finally," and put it down. She did because she did really.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, but she's been calling for it for years because she used to say, in order for us to understand what Africans did, how about tell us what was happening in India, in China at the same time? How about you tell us when Europe comes into existence? When is France? I know that sounds like a question that doesn't necessarily fit in terms of the actual language, but when does France come into existence? When does London come into existence? When do the Romans come into existence? When you understand these things, it helps you understand how we got to where we are and who did what, when, and how. So, for example, one of the quick things that I would say we don't necessarily understand, when I talk about the Kemetic tradition, and I'm often disagreeing with or having discussions with people who are still ensconced in the Christian tradition alone, sometimes they talk about Christianity like it's the whole history of all of the universe. I just had a conversation on Sonetta with a sister who said to me that she described it as the I know I need to move on. She described it as these are the prophecies that led to the birth of Jesus. And she said they were prophesied thousands of years before Jesus. And I had to say to her, well, what period are you talking about? And then she started to fluster and flutter because she began to recognize that she doesn't know the history. But if you know the history, you can understand things better. People were focused on a star for much longer than they've been focused on Jesus. Anyway, that's some of the way that I would approach that answer. And Brother Kate,
I had a debate with Gorilla Hebrew on the street, ran him off the street too, but it's on YouTube.
What?
Yeah, I did, but this was like 5 or 6 years ago, man. And
did you record it?
So they recorded it, and they only put it. I was out there for an hour and a half. They
edited it heavily.
Yeah, they only did
it. Of course they did.
Even on that part, though, they still got embarrassed. So
I would love for you to send me the link.
I will. When I email you, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, Gorilla Hebrew and I have had some interesting conversations. To his credit, he views himself as an African. He still says some things that are ridiculous.
When I went out there for the original reason I went out there is because he was teaching that they weren't from Africa, and one of my friends was under him. Right, so I had to go out and call him. Like, I saw you getting taught this, and what you made him. Was that you that made him admit? Well, yeah, I have to say I'm from Africa when you question like you
yeah.
Yeah, so I had to question on that. So, but yeah, I'll send it to you, man.
Please do.
I'm excited.
And we'll keep in conversation. When you email me, remind me that we talked today so that we can exchange numbers too, so we can communicate.
Okay.
Okay. I know there's like several more questions. We're only going to be on here for another 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So there are other questions. Are there other questions that I should be trying to bring forward?
There's a lot. What is your opinion on Ubuntu?
What is my opinion on Ubuntu? I think Ubuntu is one of the descriptions of how Africans recognize their place within the universe. Recognize that we are universal and connected to the divine. And it also is an incredible argument for the existence of the divine. There was a point in my life where I focused on it extensively, and I was always impressed by it. So Ubuntu is a powerful philosophy, I believe, is the best way to describe it. Okay. And for those of you, I'm not going to go into it because Ubuntu can be a very comprehensive study, comprehensive philosophy as well that goes even into mathematics. Please do some research on Ubuntu if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. Okay, go ahead and put into your into Google and take a look at it as well. Other questions?
With the sighting of balloons and UAPs over Alaska being shot down, the topic of unidentified aerial phenomena has come back into conversation. What are the Shrine's views on extraterrestrials?
I think that anyone who thinks that extraterrestrials or intelligent life outside of Earth, if anyone thinks that doesn't exist, I think that they are giving themselves too much credit. I think that they are not acknowledging that the heavens are absolutely immense. We don't even have a proper understanding of how much there is, even in our universe, even in our solar system. So I think it's impossible for us to believe that there aren't other individuals out there. Now, whether they've come here or not is an open question. But I'm going to say there's no way that I can't believe that with all of the planetary bodies. Just think, for example, when you look at the nighttime sky, if you look at a clear nighttime sky, not in New York, for example, which has light pollution, but if you go someplace and you're able to see the clear nighttime sky, you will see more stars than you can count. Each of those is a sun. And most of those have planetary bodies around them. Many of those planetary bodies are within what astronomers call the Goldilocks zone, the area that they're close enough to a sun to have perhaps developed the elements that are necessary for life similar to ours. So we just don't know enough. But even though we don't know exactly where they are or whether they've come here, for us to believe that they don't exist would be ridiculous when you think about how much in the universe might look similar to Earth with regard to our proximity to a star. That's the best answer I can give in a very short period of time. I believe that there is life beyond our solar system.
Okay. Are you familiar with Anthony Johnson? I came across something saying that he was a Black slave owner. Can you shed some light on that?
I believe that you're talking about, I believe Anthony Johnson is not exactly a unique name, right? So I'm not exactly sure if we're talking about the same person. But let me say to you more generally, there were people of African descent that that owned enslaved people. And I think that what we should recognize is that there are lots of different reasons why Africans might own enslaved people. Some of those Africans were opportunists and were simply using enslaved people in a similar manner to the way that Europeans were using African enslaved people. That certainly happened. But there are lots of other rationales and reasons that history books don't generally give us enough analysis of. So what are some of the other things that could have happened? A husband or a wife could have purchased their spouse. It'd be one of the ways that they would be able to keep someone outside of the abuse that occurred in enslavement. You could purchase your children. You could purchase your neighbors. And they could have owned those people. So that could have been one of the things that was going on. A relationship that was radically different than the enslavement that we think of, that we know of, that was visited upon us by Europeans. And so there are lots of different ways to understand Africans who owned enslaved people. Not all of it is as negative and painful as the enslavement that we understand occurred to the majority of us. So we have a lot of work to do to be able to tell the story on a broader level. Other questions or comments?
Yes. Can you speak to how true African culture worldview is our immunity against imbalance or ISFET?
I'm sorry, say that one more time. Whether it's a.
Can you speak to how true African culture worldview is our immunity against imbalance or ISFET?
Now, you know, that's a question I could speak about for 2 hours, right? And I actually have probably 2 minutes. Let me just say this really quickly. We should understand that African culture is our shield. And if we don't understand that, look at how actively our enslavers, our subjugators were at attempting to remove our African cultures. How about the laws that said it was illegal for an African to read, illegal for an African to speak another language? There are narratives, stories of enslaved people losing their tongues for simply speaking an African language. Why? Because if you could understand that you were not simply a slave, I'm using that term intentionally here, that you were not simply one of the beasts of burden, that in fact, your people had a history, your people had control of land masses, your people had operated and utilized all the mechanisms of a state, that your people actually had a longer and broader history than the Europeans that were enslaving you. If you understood those things, of course you would be more rebellious. You will be less malleable to your enslaver. Think about the fact that we see laws that are on the books, not just in the United States, but in the Caribbean, that outlaw the use of the drum. And those laws usually came after an enslaved rebellion. We should also understand that when you read the words of someone like Charles Colcock Jones, he very clearly says that teaching our enslaved, our Negroes, Christianity is a tool for their greater submission. So we must understand that reclaiming African culture is in fact a revolutionary act. That going back and fetching those traditions that kept us whole, that allowed us to build some of the most advanced civilizations on the history of the planet, returning to those traditions will empower us. By the way, the other thing that it will do is it will connect us to Africans around the world. Once we connect to other Africans around the world and figure out how to use our shared interest for the betterment of our people on the globe, we will be a superpower that no one, did you hear what I said? No one will be able to mess with. If Africans were in control of the continent of Africa, we would be the most powerful group of people on the planet, as we once were. And so this is why we must once again return to those things. Culture is the glue that keeps people together. When we return to using that sinew that links bodies together, we will once again be the most powerful people on the planet. You'll often hear about how many Chinese there are or how many Indians there are. There are more Africans than there are Chinese, than there are Indians. Now, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. China is a country. I'm talking about the people who we consider Chinese worldwide. There are more of us than there are people who are Chinese, than there are people who are Indian. And because of our enslavement, because we were forced away from our home, because we were forced to build the world's most powerful places on the planet, we are also situationally, we are also geographically located in those positions of power. If we saw ourselves as one people, we would be the force to reckon with. And that's why we need to do that.
Okay.
Was that the quickest way to answer a complex question?
I don't know. I know there was a question for B from Sen Jason Holmes regarding the language. He had mentioned the symbol of the 3 foxtails tied together.
Yes,
and what that
the mess symbol.
The mess symbol, that's the symbol of birth. That's not in the name of Senusret that you're looking at, unless you're looking at another name that was given to him, like a coronation name. But to be honest, I don't know why they use the 3 foxtails to represent the symbol for birth. It's really unusual that would be the designation. What I would say is we might even be misinterpreting what the symbol actually is, because we're looking at it from a current world view. So they might not be foxtails at all. It may have something else to do with the birthing process. But unless we were there during that time, it's really hard to interpret why those symbols are being used.
And let me say to you that we're going to have to do more research, because I'm not saying that there are some things that will be lost to history, but other things that will be discovered by research. And so it would be powerful for us to do more research on why some of the symbols exist to describe certain concepts. Because if you understand a language, you get to understand a people's worldview. And so it's fascinating that that symbol, and Nick and I have talked about that symbol extensively. The symbol for birth, the symbol for being a child of, is a symbol of 3 tied foxtails. Why? Why? We don't know why, but it would be fascinating to have a better understanding as to why. Do you probably have time for maybe one more question?
You have about 3. What is your thoughts on the flat Earth talk?
On the flat Earth talk? I think that the flat earthers are incorrect. And I think that they have been proved incorrect many times. And certainly when they are correct, when they hear that they're proved incorrect, they simply just say that the people who are proving them incorrect are either operatives of the government or something to that effect. It's bizarre to me that they continue to say that. You should know, China and the United States are not on great terms. If China, who actually is sending people to the moon, by the way, you should know, who has a large number of satellites, who, as you can tell, operates above our immediate atmosphere, if they were able to tell that the Earth was in fact flat, they should know that based on the things that they're doing. Don't you think that they would want the rest of the world to know that the United States is lying, that NASA is lying to you? When flat earthers make it sound like there's some kind of conspiracy in the United States, I think that position is one that doesn't fit with what we know of the structure of the world itself. There are many, many, many superpowers, right? There are folks that are putting up satellites, folks that have taken pictures, folks that are able to reckon with the shape of the globe. And they are not all friends. Now, China and Russia are not under the auspices of NASA. Additionally to that, mathematically, Africans argue that the world was round for over 1,000 years, for thousands of years before Europeans made the same argument. So we need to recognize that that argument is extremely outdated and it doesn't fit into what we should see as a worldview. Now, here's the deal. Does that mean I have animosity for people of African descent who are flat earthers? No, why should I? I just think that they need to do a bit more research. I even saw an incredible video that was put forward by the multi-genius, the British multi-genius. What is his name again? Who was a paraplegic who was on a what is his name again, Anika? Come on now. He eventually by Stephen Hawking. And it was really fascinating because what they did was they shot a laser. Now you know that lasers can actually adhere to a very straight line. They shot a laser along a very long distance and measured how much difference there was between, on a lake, by the way, on a very large lake, how much difference there was from its point of origin to the distance that they had gone out to, so they could show you the curvature of the earth. So there are lots of that video is available online on YouTube. There are lots of ways that we're able to prove that the world is not flat. And we ought to just do a bit more research to be able to tell it. Not everything that we're going to know are things that we're going to be able to sense with our very basic five senses. Some things are going to be a bit more complex than simply what you can notice with your own eyes.
Why are you afraid to be truthful about Africa's role in the origin of slavery?
Well, that's a really interesting question. First of all, let me say to you, I don't know why you would think I'm afraid of anything. The continent of Africa, there were people on the African continent who were involved, who were complicit in the enslavement of people of African descent. And I'm going to say to you that the reality around Africans who were involved in it is a complex one. Sometimes they were involved simply because they were trying to compete to stay alive. If I am the person that's in charge of this nation and the other nations are working with these European powers, they're receiving guns and other things that they can use to attack me, to some degree, I might have to make some very difficult decisions in order to save my nation. Some African leaders were in that challenging situation of trying to figure out what to do. And so I don't envy being in that situation. And while I don't envy being in that situation, as a descendant of those who were enslaved, they should be held accountable for their role. I'm going to tell you, the only group of people on the planet who have made an apology and backed that apology, not with actual money, but with something tangible like land, is people of African descent, is continental Africans. They're the only ones. And they got the least benefit from the enslavement of African people. All of those major enslavement centers are the most impoverished places on the planet. So they got the least benefit. Definitely we need to reckon with them, but we also, more importantly, need to reckon with those people who receive the most benefit, who are still in control of the whole darn world because of what they did to our ancestors. That's like me realizing that outside there were some folks who stole my wallet, right? And there was one guy who was involved in it who got a few dollars for it. And the other guy took that money, took my credit cards, took all of my identification culture, and were able to create a massive business off of it. And I'm just going to kick the butt of the guy that got a few dollars. By the way, he's still begging on the street because those $2 didn't last him very. They did no good. They did him no good. I'm gonna go and beat up the guy who got a few dollars rather than going after the multinational conglomerate which was created with my funds. We need to recognize that everyone that was involved should be held accountable, but there are those who should be held to higher account. And that's just the way that we should understand what occurred.
Senator Sandra Arrington is asking if you can say a quick prayer for her.
Oh, Senator Sandra, what's going on?
She might not want to say.
You might not want to say. Okay. Can I say that we are asking the Neteru, we are asking the divine forces and the ancestors to come into the home of Senator Sandra Arrington. We are asking them to give her solace and wisdom. We are asking them to give her healing and power as she goes through a difficult period. We know that sometimes living can be like hell. We know that sometimes when we're doing the work that we must do, we are visited by illness, we are visited by jealousy, we are visited by injury, we are visited by some tough times. And we know that if we stay the course, we know that if we do that which is Ma'at, that we will be seen through the other side in glory. So we ask you, ancestors, we ask you, Neteru, to assist her in this time, to ensure that she will come out of the other side, not only unscathed, but in power and strength. We know that these powers are within you, and we only ask that you give our dear sister recognition of just how powerful she actually is, so that she can do the work that you expected her to do. Can I say Twan Tur, Twa Winter? I'm really hoping that whatever you're dealing with is something that you will have victory over. If you need additional assistance, please reach out to us so that we can help you on a more personal level if it's necessary. Hang in there, right? Follow the path of Ma'at, and the Neteru will be your guide. They'll be your guide. With that, it's after 2 p.m. I didn't expect that we'd be on here that long doing this. I think it has become clear that we should probably do one of these general check-ins, maybe quarterly, right? Maybe every now and then we should just call in the family and speak to you, because I know you have questions, concerns, and you may need us to do more than simply give you the teaching for the day. So expect that we'll do these regularly. So that you can just come in and talk with us. And by the way, if there's some things you'd like to talk to the community about, also reach out to us, because we're not above allowing members of our community, particularly full members of our community, the space to do those things in Kemetic Ascension as well. With that, can I say the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. Dua for a lively conversation today, family. Anika, can you come forward for our final affirmation?
So go for all of your questions, your comments. Sorry we didn't get to go through everyone's questions, but again, we did put the email in the chat. So if there are people who want to reach out directly, please feel free to do so. And you can continue the discussion that way. We did receive some initiation applications as we were doing our session.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so for those of you who submitted your application as we were speaking, for those of you who haven't, you have until the end of this week. So try to get it in as soon as possible to make sure that you are considered for this cohort that is entered.
And please don't be stopped. Be unstoppable. Okay. If there's something if you need us to do something so that you can successfully go through, speak to us. Okay. It could be anything from assistance, financial assistance. It could be asking us about the time frame that works for you. Maybe you're not going to be able to be on each discussion at the time we do it. That's something else that we can work through. So talk to us and let's see. We want to make sure that the family of the Shrine of Ma'at grows and grows around this planet. Don't let something small that seems big to you stop you from doing it.
Okay. And also, please, if you're thinking of traveling with us to Egypt or to Kemet or Ghana, do it now. Make sure you put in your deposit. We are trying to make sure that we reserve the spaces as quickly as possible because time is passing and you're going to lose out. So if you are interested in traveling with us, please do it immediately. You can go to our website, centerformaat.com. Again, that's CenterForMaat.com. That is the site that'll talk mostly about the trip. You'll have the itinerary, so you'll know what we're doing from day to day. But please, if you're interested, you need to do it now so that the window does not close on you. We will be having an info session for those who have submitted their deposit this March. So we want to get in before then, so you'll be able to meet the other people who are traveling with us this summer. Okay. So with that, I'd like to give you our closing prayer, the Amasu. So if you can stand in the pose of adoration and repeat after me. It'll be in the language of our ancestors first, the Unter, and then in English. Amasu and Pater.
Amasu and Panta.
Sauksu.
Sauksu.
Ementra.
Ementra.
And Pater.
And Pater.
Autu.
Autu.
Aura.
Aura.
Maketipa.
Maketipa.
Herura.
Herura.
Give yourself to the One Most High.
Give yourself to the One Most High.
Keep yourself daily for the divine.
Keep yourself daily for the divine.
And do it tomorrow.
And do it tomorrow.
Just as you did it today.
Just as you did it today.
Dua Unter.
Dua Unter.
Thank you to the divine, and thank you to all of you.
Dua, dua, dua. Family, Shemin Ma'at, go forth in divine balance. I'm hoping that we will continue to hear from you soon. Dua for all your donations. You should know we don't do this for money, but we need money to do it. Please continue the donations if you can, so that we're able to support the Shrine of Ma'at and do the work of Ma'at. We will see you all soon. Shemin Ma'at. Peace.